Today we're talking ice safety with Game Warden Supervisor Jackie Lundstrom. I'm Mike Anderson with the North Dakota Game and Fish Department. Jackie, give our viewers some tips on ice thickness when heading out on the ice this winter.
So it's always a good idea to make sure when you're going out on the ice for fishing or other recreational purposes that you're constantly checking the ice thickness as you go out. Anything under 3 inches, we recommend that nobody is on. Once you get into that 5-6 inch mark, then it's good for single file on foot. Beyond that, then you want to make sure that you have a good 10 to 12 inches for a small vehicle. And if you're trying to pull out that big truck in your ice house, you're going to want 12 to 15 inches of ice at least before you pull those out.
And one thing to keep in mind, ice is never 100% safe or stable.
That's correct. Depending on how it's formed is going to be dependent on how stable that ice actually is.
At this time of year, I mean, it's getting colder outside, but at this time of year, you have cold days, you have warm days. What's good ice?
So good ice is classified as that has been formed and is nice and clear. So on nights where there is no wind, where it can look like glass and start that nice smooth surface, that's going to be your better ice in formation. When you have days that are warm and then cold, as the ice forms, that can cause a lot of waffle or honeycomb effect, which makes it less stable for individuals to be out on.
Okay, what should people take to check the ice when they head out for the first time?
So in the early stages, a lot of individuals will just kind of use an ice pick and see if they can pick through the ice. Obviously, once things get a little thicker, you're gonna probably drill through the ice with your ice auger, whether it's a hand auger or gas powered. And so you just want to make sure you're constantly checking as you go out.
A lot of late season hunting opportunities in North Dakota. What should hunters be cautious of?
So we always want to make sure that if you're hunting around some of those slough areas, whether it's a drier one or one that's full of water, that those edges where the cattails are can be a little less stable because of how the heat affects that area. And then also, just because the edge might be a little thicker, the deeper it gets, it might thin out. So you want to make sure you're not necessarily sending a dog out after a bird that's been downed on the water, so just being a little bit more conscious of where you're actually shooting at, where the bird's at.
Okay, and springs. You know, a lot of these smaller creeks and even bigger lakes have springs. What should people watch out for with springs?
So unless you're real familiar with the area, springs can be kind of tricky, but the locals will usually try to mark it in a way. Sometimes it'll be with a tree branch or something that's larger that you know would be there. So we always make sure you use a safe driving speed when you're going out so you can recognize when maybe that ice is starting to fail and time to maybe back out of the situation that you're in.
Jackie, what are some of the things ice anglers should take with them?
So you always want to make sure you're dressed appropriately in layers. We always recommend too having a life jacket with you. That's year-round, whether it's open water or ice. Ice picks, in case you do fall through, that you have those around your neck so that you can help climb out. Also a throw bag for maybe not necessarily yourself if you're the first one in line, but somebody behind you that can toss that rope bag to you to help pull you back into safety. And
later in the year, pressure ridges seem to cause a lot of vehicles going through the ice.
Correct. We always recommend avoidance of the pressure ridges because you just never know at what point in time those are going to gap open that you can no longer drive over them. Also, you want to be cautious of any of the ice that's under bridges because if it is flowing, that ice underneath the bridges is going to be much less thick than it would be away from that bridge. And it's always a good idea to give somebody a plan of where you're going and how to get there, essentially. Absolutely. Just like a float plan during the summer, it's always good to let your friends and family know where you're going to be going out on the ice. And in some places, we do still lose cell service, so it's important to make sure that that plan's been laid out. A lot of great information, Jackie. Thank you. Thank you.